No, you are not dreaming. Galaxias is finally back with chapter 29. And this was another great chapter leading up to the real beginning of this arc and confrontations with Antares' group and Neraid. We got Jüks interrogating Geo. We got some more ideas as to the political climate of the Dragon Knights in this kingdom, and a real interesting revelation about the death of the Dragon King that I knew was a possibility but didn't consider it to be actually confirmed. But before we talk about everything, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. But before we jump into the actual chapter, I need to address the current state of the Galaxias manga. So as we all know, Galaxias for the past several chapters has had multitudes of different breaks or mini hiatuses, if you want to go that route, to the point where it's basically become monthly and in some cases once every other month, due to the amount of chapters we've been getting since the end of the previous arc with Antares fighting Neraid. And so for the past couple of months, we've only had about one chapter a month, with the on and off 2 chapters a month that it's supposed to be. And so, I actually have some information for those of you that don't know, because this is something I was curious about, but has been confirmed over the last couple of weeks that to be the case. So the mangaka Ao Hatetsuka has actually come out and said that he has no assistance right now. And for the past couple of chapters, it seems that he has had no assistance to help him on the manga. As he revealed in a post on Twitter, that he is actually looking for more assistance, as the assistants that were working with him for a while now have ended up leaving to start their own manga careers, starting their own different series. And this is actually pretty early for a mangaka to start their own series for their assistants to go off and do their own thing, at least as far as I know. But even with that, the series ended up suffering in terms of its consistency, as with the insane amount of detail in every single chapter of Galaxias, for Ao Hatetsuka to do this on a bi-weekly basis even is definitely incredibly difficult. And that's why the manga has basically been releasing monthly at this point. Honestly, if this was a weekly magazine back in Weekly Show Magazine, even though it wouldn't be axed, it definitely would have lost a lot of popularity and reader base to the point where it might have well been axed. But since this is in a bi-weekly digital magazine being released digitally, there are a lot less strict guidelines for the release schedule, so he's at least been able to release a chapter a month for now. But since he released on Twitter that he's looking for more assistance and also testing potential new assistants, this means that within the next couple of months, hopefully, he'll have new assistants working for him to help with the workload so we can get back on a regular schedule for the manga. At least I hope so, because this really does explain the very poor release schedule for a series that only releases about 10 to 16 pages on average every single time it releases, with high quality artwork. So it makes a lot of sense why he was doing this. He lost assistants and now is looking for new ones. So hopefully he finds some good assistance for the background art or to touch up his artwork. That way he is able to release these chapters bi-weekly again, and Galaxias doesn't fade away into obscurity, because this series is fantastic and we're about to hit chapter 30. This series would have been in the 50s by now if it was still weekly, or even if it was bi-weekly, it'd be in the late 30s, early 40s, which is something to really consider with the consistency of this manga schedule. But yeah, that's all I really have to say on the matter. This series has been going on multiple breaks and being released monthly due to a lack of assistance, and Ao Hatetsuka has just been drawing everything every single month by himself. So now once he gets assistance, the consistency of chapter releases will finally start at least getting back to a consistent schedule, hopefully. But with that bit of an update on the manga out of the way, let's actually start and get back into the manga of Galaxias with chapter 29, Playing Adventurer. And the series starts off pretty much directly after last week with Alressia leaving her electric doppelganger from the Scorpio region talking to Antares, as her time talking was cut short, as she wanted to talk with Antares more. But it's then that her, I believe, second-in-command says that she returned very quickly, with Alressia saying that she kind of upset Antares again, with her second-in-command saying that she's just too pushy and a proper dialogue starts with proper distance. And he begins to ask about you-know-what, as Alressia confirms that using her abilities to see, hear, and speak to things through the electrical currents with her abilities, she was actually able to see Geo and confirm her existence and that that is actually her. And so her second command says that the daughter of the Sovereign Killer, there was no report of her from Scorpio region before, as this shows the shrewdness of Antares. And as you remember from the last chapter, the main reason Antares is kind of doing this before handing her over and giving official reports is because she wants people to back her to be the next ruler of the kingdom, to kind of shift the whole direction of the entire empire after the king's death. Now, her second command says that the other regions must know about Geo by now and asks what they should do. Now, Alresha says that for right now, they're still going to press forward to the Scorpio region, and that she's worried they'll aggravate the surrounding regions. They're all thinking the same thing. Everybody wants to get a good look at a ghost. As we transition to the seemingly holding cell area where Geo is being kept, as Jüks is going up to her, saying it's a good thing they have this giant space. It's good for basically storing brats like her. Saying that before they execute her, they want to get as much information out of her as possible. But Geo says it's pointless to ask her about Yuri Holst. She doesn't know anything anyway. But before she says anything, Jüks just slams into the ground with his tail, saying that he's asking the questions. Saying he doesn't give a damn about the Sovereign Killer now, saying that he wants to know more about Neraid Kuiper. What's her connection to him, as this catches Geo off guard, not knowing what he means by that. Jüks thinks she's playing dumb, saying that he was with him on the island, and wants to know why he saved her back then. And Geo says that there wasn't really any real connection, it was just a coincidence that all that happened. But Jüks isn't buying it, saying there's no coincidence that well timed, but Geo says that it was true, it was a coincidence. But then Jüks asks why was he on her island this whole time? Why did he show up at her island? As Geo begins to remember her first interaction with Neraid and how she discovered him, and after thinking that, she remembers the last thing Neraid said to her, saying, why didn't she run? As she slumps down in despair, asking, did Neraid die? Asking him to tell her, as she is basically collapsing down on the weight of everything that has happened thus far, thinking that she killed basically her one and only friend. As Jüks just smirks, saying they didn't find a body and that he's probably still alive. With Jüks' men telling him he probably shouldn't be saying this, Jüks just says, what's the deal with me telling her now? She's gonna die anyway. And just says that the cleanup squad that he sent is going over there right now. So with the wounds that he probably sustained from that fight, he ain't gonna be able to put up a fight, which only makes Geo feel worse and sinks her even further down into despair. Now, Jüks just cackles and says that felt good. Now don't get so down, I've got something for you. As he brings them his bag, saying that he found it at the bottom of the ravine and brought it back. He searched it and didn't find anything interesting, saying that he doesn't need it, so he's giving it back to her. But as Geo picks it up, Jüks then kicks her square in the gut through the bag as she is slammed right into the wall of the cell that she's in, breaking through a couple of pipes in the wall, denting them. With Jüks, with a sinister grin, says, it'll be a pain if you die on me, so I needed a cushion. With Geo just collapsed on the ground, holding her gut, hunched over from the pain to the point of her vomiting. As Jüks says, I've hated you for so long, acting like you're better than me. And as Geo was hunched over on the ground, Jüks grabs her by the hair, lifting her up, saying, how dare you look at me in the eye and talk to me like we're equals. You can't do anything on your own. As his tail slams on the ground, hitting the bag, with the book Galaxias falling onto the ground. And again, this is the third time this book has appeared in the story. Chapter 1, back at Yuri Holst's old house when Geo discovered it before Antares just basically broke through the manga and sliced through the panel work to engage that fight. And now here. Now, I think this is either Geo's copy or the one at Yuri Holst's house, and Geo managed to grab it. It's probably Geo's copy that she had back home, and she just brought it with her. And again, I made a video a couple months back that this book is entirely based off of real-world events, or might be predicting the future, or might be a way of just encoding something for Yuri Host to give to Geo and Neraid to help them on their journey. This book is incredibly important, as there is way too much of a coincidence with the main character of that book and the circumstances of the main character of that book to basically perfectly mirror Neraid. So there is a lot with this book, and even then the mangaka is still trying to tell us that this book is incredibly important. That's why it keeps showing up every other chapter. Now, Jüks' men is telling him to calm down, is that if he keeps this up, he might kill her, but Jüks says to shut up and that he's just teaching this brat a lesson in humiliation, and that he can't stand always being on the receiving end, as he keeps holding Geo's hair, yanking her up. And Geo is breathing heavily from all of the pain, with Jüks saying that this is pathetic. She slipped away from him once, and now she assumes that she's won, saying, "Did you think you'd become a marvelous adventurer? You haven't changed at all. Your unearned stubborn pride just holds others back," as Geo flashes back to her adoptive father almost dying because of her existence, Neraid basically almost dying, bleeding out on the ground, protecting her, as she just continues to reel back in just utter despair. Jüks says, "Now that's a good reaction. You pictured him, didn't you? Perfect. I suppose I'll tell you why we're targeting him." Saying that 6 years ago, Neraid was the one that killed the Dragon King, as this shocks Geo and us, the audience. Now, I had the possible idea that maybe Neraid was involved in the killing of the king, maybe not the direct cause of the king's death, the actual killer, but it was brought up that it was suspicious that Yuri Host was made the sole perpetrator of the king's death immediately. So that is incredibly suspicious, and that there was suspicion on Neraid, who apparently was the king's bodyguard, but had no real records of his past. So the reveal, at least from Jüks, if he is telling the truth, we have to think of the fact that he might be lying to just make Geo feel even worse, that Neraid was the one that killed the Dragon King. This unloads a whole bunch of stuff for this massive conspiracy on the king's death, and what this could mean, and what could be the real purpose of Neraid doing this, and how this led into him having amnesia and his connection to Yuri Host. There's a lot to dissect when it comes to that. But before Jüks can say any more, and potentially very badly injure Geo even worse, Antares shows up saying that he has quite a talkative interrogation right now, as she stops Jüks from doing anything more to Geo. As she informs Jüks that the cleanup squad he sent to Grib was completely wiped out, and that there's no doubt that it was Neraid. And after hearing this, Geo might get a bit of a glimmer of hope, but also a bit of despair, wondering if Neraid is actually coming to save her. But pissed off by this, Jüks storms off, leaving Geo in the middle of the room, and as he's walking away, Geo begins to think 6 years ago, wondering who Neraid was, as she then passes out from the pain, with Antares looking down towards her, but also the book catches her eye. As now, again, like I said earlier, this book is massively important, and it'll probably play a role in future reveals, and Antares might know something about the book. For all we know, she seems to know specific pieces of information, but not the whole picture, so I'm wondering why this book is so important, especially considering the fact that it is the literal title of the manga. But after seeing this and seeing Geo pass out, Antares disappears, leaving them behind as she meets up with Kerner, saying to tighten up security. As the final page of the chapter shows Neraid and Schmitt out in the snow, standing out in the distance from Antares' fortress, as the chapter ends. With that, the Geo rescue arc is officially beginning. And I cannot wait for next chapter, because not only are we getting teased with Antares versus Neraid round 2, we still have Kerner and Jüks to fight against Schmitt, and potentially Neraid as well, to build up to the eventual reunion with Geo. We still got more seeds and reveals like Neraid seemingly being the one that actually killed the king, and the book Galaxias showing up once more and is drawing Antares' attention. But not only that, we have Alresha talking about the whole political climate right now, as every other one of the royal zodiacs and regions in this kingdom want to get a glimpse of Geo, the ghost of Yuri Host, or even Neraid, who he himself was also referred to as a ghost. So with everything going on with Geo and Neraid, these seemingly other royal zodiac members or other high-ranking officials in all these different regions want a glimpse of what's going on, and so with Aurelia already heading there, we might have 2 Royal Zodiacs in the same place during this rescue, depending on how far away that she is. But yeah, this chapter was fantastic. We got more information, we got to see more of Geo just facing utter and complete despair with a little bit of hope that Neraid is there to save her. Antares seems to know way more than she is leading on, for all we know. And Aurelia seems to be on the way. And again, the book Galaxias is still being hinted at, or just shoved in our face as being incredibly important for the future of the series. And there is still a lot that this series needs to explain and show before we get any answers. And this upcoming arc that's beginning is going to be incredibly hype. But what do you guys think of this chapter? How do you feel about the current state of the manga right now? Do you think we'll go back to regular releases now that we have the potential of new assistants coming on in to help the creator? How do you feel about the story right now with how things are leading up to our rescue arc right now, and the inevitable rematch between Antares and Neraid, and all the reveals we got this chapter? Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below, and if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. Now with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.